Morning students, I hope you're all keeping well. Welcome to the lockdown workshop. As you can see, we're in my home workshop at my house, and hopefully this video will be some use to you. My apologies for the video. As you know, I'm a woodworker, not a filmmaker, but today we're going to draw a workshop rod, or sometimes called a setting out drawing. Hopefully you'll get something out of the video, but we'll just have to see how it goes. So let's get started then. So the first thing is, what is a workshop rod? So essentially a workshop rod is a full-size drawing that we would make on a sheet of paper, or sometimes on a piece of plywood or a piece of hardboard. Sometimes the plywood, once we've used the rod, we could overpaint the plywood with white emulsion, something like that, and then we could reuse it time and time again. But essentially what we're going to do is we take a detailed drawing from our client of what we're going to produce, and a detailed drawing for us on our course, we're going to make a small internal door, and our detailed drawing is this, which is figure 1, and hopefully you can see that. I may actually upload these figures onto Teams as well, so you can see them in more detail. So essentially we've got a drawing showing us what we're going to make. It's a scale drawing, and you can see the sizes of the door that we're going to make is 500 wide and 1100 high, with 2 stiles, a top rail and a bottom rail that's made up of 2 components joined together. So we've got a thin rail at the top and a thick rail at the bottom, and 2 sides, right and left. Okay, so that's figure 1. So we're going to take that drawing and work out what sizes we need, and we're going to draw the workshop rod to those sizes in more detail, full size. So if we now move on to the overhead view, which you can now see, you'll see I've got my board set up. For this instance, I've got paper taped onto my board at the 2 outside edges and one over here which you can't quite see. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our sizes from the bottom edge, which is this edge, and we're going to take all our sizes from that bottom edge up the page, and we're going to take all our sizes horizontally from the right hand side of the board in this direction, so from right to left. So first thing we're going to do is, from the bottom of the edge of the board, we're going to measure up 20 millimeters. So we're going up there 20 millimeters, put a wee mark. We're going to come along to the other side of our board, come up 20 millimeters and put a wee mark. Then we're going to take a straight edge and we're going to draw a horizontal line straight across our paper, like so, and hopefully you can see that we've got a horizontal line straight across our page, 20 millimeters up from the bottom edge. Exactly the same, we're now going to move to the right hand side of our paper, and we're going to come in this time 30 millimeters, put a wee mark, 30 millimeters at the bottom, put a wee mark, and we're going to come up with our straight edge straight down vertical, hopefully now you can see that right in this corner, the bottom right hand corner where the two lines cross, that's where we're going to start drawing our workshop rod. So from that corner we're going to measure 1100 millimeters. So we're going to measure from that corner 1100 millimeters in this direction until we get to a point just here. Move that slightly so you can see it. Then we're going to measure up from that line 45 millimeters up here, put a wee mark. At the other side up 45 millimeters, put a wee mark. Then we're going to draw another horizontal line like so. So now we've got two horizontal lines running straight along the bottom of our page. Where we put the mark at 1100 millimeters, we're going to come up now with a square on the edge of the board, and we're going to put a vertical line just here. So now we have a rectangle 1100 millimeters long by 45 millimeters wide, and that's the overall dimensions of the side view of our door. Now we need to come in from the bottom, so we're going to come up from the bottom 110 millimeters, put a mark, then up from that mark 70 millimeters, another mark, then another two vertical lines, one there and one there. So that is going to be the bottom of our door, which has a rail right at the bottom 110 millimeters high, then attached to that another rail 70 millimeters. So overall it's going to be 180 millimeters from the bottom of the door to the inside opening for the glass. We're now going to move to the top of the door, and we're going to come down 70 millimeters and draw another vertical line. So we've now got our top rail, which you can see here hopefully, down from the top 70 millimeters and a line. So this is the top rail here and the bottom rail here. Now, so we now have the basic side view of our door. So we now need to mark out from the inside to the outside of the door where the tenon line, or where the mortices are going to be for the mortise and tenon. So the mortise and tenon thickness, i.e. from the inside to the outside of the door here, we're going to come up a third, and a third. So our door thickness from inside to outside is 45 millimeters. So we're going to take the 45 millimeters and divide it into thirds. So we're going to come in here 15mm down and 15mm down, and the same at the other side, 15 and 15, and we're going to draw two horizontal lines. Now, in reality, these lines would all be faint, drawn in pencil, and then once we're happy with the sizes, we would go over them and darken up the lines. But for this demonstration, I'm drawing them all with marker pen so you can see them on the video. Then from that, we're going to move up and do exactly the same to the top rail. So we're coming up to the top rail. Once again, we're coming down 15mm and 15mm. Then we're going to draw our horizontal lines like so. So we've now got our bottom rail and our top rail split into thirds, which is where our mortise and tenon is going to go, in the centre third of the bottom rail and the top rail. Now we need to get the width of the tenon, so we're going to come over and we are going to take a measurement from the bottom of the door up to the door opening, which we said was 180mm overall. So we're going to now, for the widths of the tenons, because we've got two tenons in the bottom rail, which we call a twin tenon, twin haunch bottom rail, which has two tenons in it, one over the top of the other, the twin tenons, we're going to split that into fourths. So a quarter, a quarter, a quarter, a quarter. And as we said, we've got 180, so we're going to come up 45, another 45, 45, and the last. Then we're going to put lines across just in the middle third, so we end up with our two tenon positions. Now, as we're looking at the edge of the door, the tenons come right through the stiles, so we can actually now just detail the ends of the tenons by shading them like so. And you'll remember from your technical drawing studies that when we shade in, that represents the end grain on the rails. We're going to come up to the top rail now, and we're going to do exactly the same. On a single tenon and a single haunch rail, the ratio is 2/3 tenon and 1/3 haunch, approximately. But what we'll do is we'll just make this tenon exactly the same size as we made the bottom tenons. So we're going to come up 45mm, put a wee mark, then we'll draw a line across, and hopefully you can see that, and I'll just cross hatch that again, just to represent the end grain of the top rail. And essentially that is the basic side view of our door. So now we need to detail the rail the door looking down from the top. So if we go back to figure 1, we have drawn the view looking at the side of it, and we are now going to draw the view looking down from the top. So if we come up from our first view, and I'm going to come up 100 millimeters and put a mark, then up 100 millimeters, put a mark, and we're going to draw a horizontal line straight across. So we've now got the front edge of our door and the edge of our door running up here. As we done before, we're going to measure up 45 millimeters and 45 millimeters to another horizontal line, like so, and that now gives us the thickness of our door looking down from the top, and our thickness is 45. From left to right, we're going to measure from our baseline at the right hand side, we're going to come back 500, and we're going to draw a line down at that 500 point, which now gives us the width of our door. From, as we look at it, from the right hand side to the left hand side is 500, and for front to back is 45. Now when we look down on our door, we can see the ends of the stiles. So we need to come in 70 millimeters from the right and in 70 millimeters from the left, and we're going to do a faint line up. I'll do a faint line in pencil, hopefully you might be able to see it. So I've got a faint line and a faint line. Hopefully you'll be able to see there's a faint line just here. Then, as we did before, we're going to split into our thirds again. So we've got 45 millimeters thick. We're coming in 15 and 15, and the same on the other side, in 15, 15. Then this time we're not drawing the line straight across the door. The lines only go across the stile. So there and there. And we'll come down there and there. And you can see that. Then from the 70 millimeter line, we're going to go towards the outside by 15 millimeters, and we'll draw a line down there, and then we'll draw what will be our shoulders, and the same on the other side. We've got our haunch line and our shoulder line. So as you can see, we now have our top rail. Hopefully you can see that. We've got our top rail, and it's actually coming from side to side and going across into the haunch and back. So we've got our two shoulders and our haunch line. Hopefully you can see that. So that is the basic concept of our side view, drawn 1-to-1, exactly the size we're going to make it, and the top view looking down, exactly the size we're going to make it. Now there is a bit more to it, but I'm going to leave it at that for the drawing. What we need from this drawing, we can lift all our sizes directly from this drawing. So the sizes we would need would be the overall sizes. So we might want to add 1100 along the bottom, like so. And we might want the overall width, which is 500 millimeters, along here, like so. As I say, hopefully you can actually see that. But some of the critical sizes that we're wanting to pick up from this drawing would be the overall sizes, which is 1100 and 500 width. But some of the other critical sizes would be the top and bottom rail. A critical size would be our shoulder size, which would be here, which we can pick up from the drawing. We might want the window opening size, i.e. from the inside of the bottom rail to the inside of the top rail. We might want our window size. We possibly would want the tenon width, which we know is 45. We might also want the haunch size, which we know is 15, and we might want to put the width or the thickness of our door at 45, and we know our tenon ratio is whatever the thickness is, and we want it into thirds across the thickness of our rail. So a third, and third. So if our timber was 45 millimeters thick, our tenon would be 15 millimeters thick, and it would have 15 millimeters on either side, because we want our tenon to be right in the middle. Hopefully that makes some sense. So the things to watch out for are when you're marking out your mortise and tenons, would be the thickness of your tenons, which would be thirds of the thickness of your rail, the width of your tenons, i.e. from top to bottom. So in this particular one, which is a twin mortise, twin haunch, if we've got a twin mortise and haunch, it's usually a quarter, a quarter, a quarter, and a quarter. If we go up to the top rail, which is just a single mortise and a single haunch, usually it would be 2/3 tenon, 1/3 haunch. Does that make sense? Now, as I said already, our detail drawn, which is figure 1, which I'll upload onto Teams, has the initial detail drawing of what we're going to make, and you'll probably not see it on the video, but there's a detail of the makeup of the bottom rail, etc. But as I say, I'll upload this figure in Teams. I'll also upload figure 2, which shows a single tenon and haunch. So it shows a single mortise and tenon, haunched mortise and tenon, and you can see, or you will be able to see on the drawing, that I've marked on the thickness, marking out the third, and I've also marked out the height ratio to work out what width your tenon would be: 2/3 tenon, 1/3 haunch. Then I have figure 3 that I'll upload onto Teams as well, and that shows a detail of the twin haunch, twin tenoned rail, and you'll see same again from the thickness front to back, third, and the width of your tenon, quarter. So that is a quarter of the overall width of your base rail with the 2 tenons and 2 haunches, split into quarters. So as I say, for our bottom rail on our drawing, our bottom rail was split into quarter, which ended up being 45. And I've just made the top rail match it 45. Okay, so hopefully that gave you some idea how we go about setting up a marking out drawing, which we call a workshop rod or a setting out drawing. The key thing is this drawing is full size, so we can now lay a piece of timber onto that drawing. So if this was a piece that I was going to be using, we could lay the piece of timber directly on the drawing, and we can just pick up the shoulder sizes. So if this was the piece of timber I was going to be using for it, we'd pick up the shoulder sizes directly off our drawing, like so, and that's where we would put our mortises, etc. Hopefully that gives you an idea. So the rod drawing is taken directly from a detailed drawing that we're given, which was figure 1. The overall size of our door is written on that drawing. In this case it was 1100 by 500 by 45mm thick. We have a detail on that drawing which shows a single mortise and tenon, haunched mortise and tenon at the top, and a double haunched, or sorry, a twin haunched mortise and tenon at the bottom. So essentially that's our drawing in its simplest form. We would probably put in the door frame that this door was going into, we'd probably draw that on this rod as well, but that would make this video a wee bit more complicated. Then we would actually list all the component parts on this drawing. So we would label up our drawing, so we would put perhaps we'd want top rail, we'd want style, we might want bottom rail, and when we were labelling it up, this bottom rail we'd actually label as bottom rail part A and part B. So we've got the bottom rail is made up of two sections. Section A, which is 110mm width, and section B, which is 70mm in width, and they would be joined together, and we would use Festool domino fixings to fix those two sections together to create one wide bottom rail. And the top one we would label up here top rail, and on our view looking down we'd label style, we would say left hand style and right hand style. Okay, so that is essentially the drawings. We have our side view and our top view with all the sizes drawn exactly as they would be at a scale of 1 to 1, i.e. it's full size, and we would be able to lift all the sizes directly from our drawing. The last thing we would want would be, we would create, before we're finished with this rod drawing, the last thing we would want to create is a cutting list. So perhaps here we'd have cutting list, and we'd label all our components. So in here we would have style, then we'd have quantity, then the size, so we'd have length, width, thickness, material, etc., and any notes that we might want to put on. So we might have our style, and we know there's a left hand one and a right hand one. So style would have quantity 2, its length would be 1100, its width would be 70, and its thickness would be 45. And in the notes we might write mortise and tenon top rail, twin mortise and tenon bottom rail, something like that. So the last thing we would do before we moved on would be to create a cutting list. So we'd create a cutting list based on our rod drawing, and once we had done that, just for clarity, I've done a drawing underneath my paper one. Hopefully you can see that. I've done the full rod drawing on a bit of white faced hardboard, so you can see I've got my side view with my top rail 2/3, my haunch 1/3. I've got my hatched lines, I've written top rail, I've put some sizes on, and as we go down you can see my bottom rail, I have some sizes, and I've written bottom rail section A, section B. I move up here, we have our top view, which I've annotated left hand style, right hand style, top rail and I've got some sizes round there. I have also included a small sketch here, which is essentially anybody that's looking at this road drawing, it just gives them an idea of what we're actually making. But the key with this wee sketch is you must write in the centre of the sketch NTS, which means not to scale, and I've just put the overall height 1100 and the width 500, just as a wee bit of a reference, this sketch. And then lastly, I've made up my cutting list, which I've not actually put my components in yet, but that's where I would write my cutting list, and that cutting list would then go to the wood machine man, who would actually prepare all our timber. So we would give that cutting list written on a sheet, give it to the wood machine man. He would break out our timber out of battens and give us exactly the quantity and sizes, section sizes that we require for this project. Okay, there will also be a short assessment paper on this video. I think there's 6 questions. Good luck with that. Hopefully all of the answers that you need for the assessment questions have been covered in this video, so I hope you're paying attention. I just wish you stay safe, all the best. I look forward to seeing you later on. Goodbye for now.